Hi friends, if you are new to ventilator and want to understand the meaning of various variables and how should we practically use them, this video is for you. We will learn few important variables such as trigger, ETS, I ratio, TI and PRIS in this video. And we will understand how to manipulate these settings, these variables. And why I have made this presentation is because my friend Dr. Imran, who is in DNB in pulmonology, asked this important, question about how to manipulate various variables. So let's understand first triggering. Okay, so triggering refers to the signal that causes the inspiration, the variable which starts the delivery of inspiratory breath from mechanical ventilator. Okay, so anything which starts the inspiratory breath or mechanical breath is called the trigger, and this could be machine trigger by its timing itself, or it could be a patient trigger. So if it is machine trigger, so there won't be any patient triggering. Okay, this part will be flat. Only machine trigger. Machine trigger means, the example I can give you, that we set the time of inspiration and expiration on the machine, and at regular interval the ventilator will deliver the breath to the patient irrespective of patient's wish or effort. So that is your time triggering or machine triggering, machine breath. Machine triggering is used in mandatory mode of mechanical ventilation. Okay, so previously when ventilator science was started, the ventilator use was started, all the modes had compulsory mandatory mode of mechanical ventilation. Okay, and later they were called CMV, continuous mandatory ventilation. So in those modes the machine was triggering according to time of the breath. Okay, so that was the machine. And in patients, the patient decides, okay, the patient uh, triggers the mechanical breath. So the patient trigger is always identified by a negative deflection in the pressure time scalar. So this scalar is called pressure time scalar. And whenever there is a negative deflection before a full inspiratory breath, and that means that patient has triggered the breath. Okay. So nowadays we do not use machine triggering or time triggering because we have become more patient friendly. So we use only patient triggered breath in the mode like assist control mode. Okay, so this is assist control ventilation, AC mode. So AC mode came into existence because of patient triggering, more patient friendly. Or even you can say in spontaneous mode of mechanical ventilation also we use the patient triggering. So in this graph, can you recognize whether a breath is patient trigger or the machine trigger? So in the right side of the diagram, I mean this screen, you can see there is a negative deflection here is patient because of negative deflection in the patient time curve. Okay, so that is the answer. What other types of triggering mechanisms are there? There are 5 fundamental types of trigger we should know. The time trigger, the pressure trigger, flow trigger, shape signaling, and neural triggering. Okay, so we should know all these 5 types of triggering mechanisms. So in the time trigger, as we have understood in the previous slide, this is the machine which initiates the breath according to set frequency independent of patient effort. In the pressure type of triggering, the the patient's breathing produces a decrease in the baseline circuit pressure, which starts the inspiration. In the flow trigger, ventilator senses the inspiratory flow, which was initiated by the patient, and that initiates the full inspiration. Okay. Then in the shape signaling, which is the latest type of trigger mechanism, it is the which can actually decrease, and which is very patient friendly, because it can decrease the wasted effort by predicting the next respiratory effort based on the shape of the previous breath. But it is not widely available. So shape triggering, and also we know the neural triggering. In the neural triggering, the ventilator initiates the breath on sensing the electrical activity of the diaphragm. That is called EDI. That is the voltage in the diaphragm just before the full inspiratory breath is given by the ventilator. Okay, so that is very patient friendly, and least associated with the least patient ventilator dysynchrony. Of these all types of trigger, the time, pressure, and flow triggers are the most common type of used trigger mechanism. Time trigger is the patient independent, whereas others trigger mechanism require patient's contribution. Okay, that is very important point you must understand. Now, the flow trigger is the most commonly used form of triggering compared to the other types of patient triggering. Flow triggering involves the use of a continuous inspiratory base flow or the bias flow with continuous measurement of the expiratory flow from the ventilator support circuit. When the difference between the inspiratory flow and expiratory flow reaches a set trigger, okay, so that creates a breath. Okay, so this is very important point I want to make over here. So there is always a flow when the patient is not triggering it. There is the continuous flow which is occurring in the circuit from inspiratory circuit to expiratory limb, and that is called bias flow or base flow. So say the bias flow is 5 liter per minute. So 5 liter per minute is continuously flowing in whole of the circuit from inspiration to expiration and back to the ventilator. But when patient wants to start the breath, there will be a flow created, inspiratory flow created. So say patient starts at, the breath at 2 liter. So the 2 liter will be stolen from that 5 liter of inspiratory flow, and it will be returned as 3 liter to the expiratory, sensor. So inspiratory sensor, from inspiratory sensor or inspiratory limb or inspiratory port, 5 liter is being given, but expiratory sensor is sensing just 3 liter is coming back. That means that 2 liter has been delivered or has been taken by the patient's inspiratory effort, and that is something which is important. That is called inspiratory flow trigger. So that you have to actually adjust. Suppose patient, you have set the trigger of 2.5 liter, but the patient is making the effort of only 2 liter. That will not create a breath. So here example is very good. Puritan Bennett 840, that is the type of ventilator screen showed here. It allows the user to set a flow trigger directly in liter per minute. So you can see this is V sense and V trigger, that is V dot is called flow. So this means flow. If we decrease the flow trigger, that means the sensitivity will increase and lesser will be the patient's extra effort or amount of energy spent to initiate the breath. That's also one more concept. So lower the flow trigger, higher will be the sensitivity, lesser will be the work of the breathing, patient will appear more comfortable. If you keep the flow trigger too low, patient will trigger breath unnecessary even if he does not want to do so, and that will lead to extra triggering, which can increase the risk of hyperinflation, barotrauma, hemodynamic instability, and hyperventilation. If you set the higher flow trigger, say 5 liter per minute, higher flow will be needed, okay, to generate the patient generate the breath, to initiate the breath, and in that case patient has to walk more, so there will be more loading on inspiratory muscles, and if patient is not ready to be weaned, that will cause fatigue and missed or ineffective trigger type of patient ventilator asynchrony, and that will cause more difficulty in weaning, prolonged weaning, and more time spent on mechanical ventilation. So you have to be very careful about setting the flow trigger. Okay, that is very, very important. So flow trigger may reduce the patient ventilator dysynchrony, particularly when the dysynchrony is due to wasted effort. For example, an insufficiently sensitive trigger. A study by Khalil et al. Compared flow trigger with the pressure trigger in mechanically ventilated patients and found that compared to pressure trigger, flow trigger was associated with significantly shorter duration of weaning, shorter duration of mechanical ventilation, and also the shorter duration of ICU stay. However, this difference was not significant in patients with obstructive airway pathologies. Now let's understand the ETS. So this is one more variable. Okay, we will talk about. So ETS stands for expiratory trigger sensitivity. It is the proportion of expiratory flow at which the ventilator will trigger the expiration. Okay, this is quite confusing because trigger word should not be used here, as trigger means initiation of the inspiratory breath, and here we are starting the expiration. Okay, or we are changing from inspiration to expiration, and that should be called the cycling. So correct word should have been cycling sensitivity. Okay, so that is very, very interesting also. And this is the reason on Hamilton ventilator, ETS is otherwise known as eSense or end inspiration or flow cycle in other brands. Okay, so name are very confusing in ventilator science. So ETS is set for the patient on pressure support ventilation or CPAP mode, and they are usually kept at 25%. The usual setting is 25%. And manipulation of ETS will manipulate the inspiratory time and therefore I ratio as well. So that is very important thing we should understand. So we will take an example over here. So this is the pressure support ventilation flow time scalar. Okay, to keep the ETS lower, your TI will be a little bit longer. Okay, but if you want to shorten the TI, you have to do just one thing. You have to increase the ETS. So here ETS has been increased, isn't it? So ETS has been increased here. In this example, ETS has been increased to 45%. Here the ETS is 15%, and you can see the expression is not very long. Okay, the expression is actually shortened due to low ETS, and that is the reason there is a generation of some volume at the end of expiration. There is some volume remain in the alveoli, and that is causing the auto PEEP phenomena, auto PEEP problem. So here there is some auto PEEP because the flow, the expiratory flow is not completing. Okay, and that will be generating more of pressure at the end of expiration. So if you want to decrease this problem, in order to manage this problem, you simply have to increase the ETS to 45%. Higher the ETS, lower will be TI, higher will be TE, which will be favorable in patients with obstructive airway disease, and there won't be any auto PEEP. Okay, now look at these waveforms. This is the graphics from pressure support ventilation mode. Here the arrow is showing, okay, I will just turn on the laser pointer. So here the arrow is showing something which is an overshoot in the pressure graph during the end of expiration. Okay, which is actually a sign of delayed cycling. This is a type of asynchrony, delayed cycling. So here in this example, delayed cycling is occurring because of increase in the TI. So delayed cycling occurs when there is a prolonged TI, which results in shortened expiration. And due to shortened expiration, what happens? In my previous example, I showed you that due to shortened expiration, that results in auto PEEP. Okay, so here some auto PEEP is developing. So to manage this type of delayed asynchrony, delayed cycling asynchrony, you must increase the ETS in increment of 10% to shorten the inspiratory time and adjust the TI max according to patient's condition. Now look at this example. What is happening? The phenomena is called double triggering. Okay, here double triggering is occurring because of premature cycling. Okay, so that occurs due to shortened TI. So TI is quite shortened, and that is the reason double triggering is occurring. To manage this problem, you have to decrease the ETS in increment of 10% to lengthen TI, adjust TI max according to the patient's condition, or increase the pressure support to achieve the desired tidal volume. Okay, so once you increase the pressure support, you increase the tidal volume, you will be able to spend more time on TI. So that is one more way to do that. Okay. Now let's understand how to set I ratio, how to manipulate TI. So setting I ratio or inspiratory time is very important part of ventilatory management. In some ventilator, you can set I ratio directly, but in others, you have to set TI max, and I will be automatically calculated by the ventilator and shown on the screen. Basic fundamental question is how to set these timings. So that definitely depends on the patient type, gas exchange, patient's disease status, and ABG, pH, etc. Normally, you set the I ratio as 1:2. That means the expiratory time is double of the inspiratory time. Okay, in few ventilators, you have to adjust TI and RR. And in few ventilators, you have to adjust the I ratio straight away. How will you decide the inspiratory time? That depends on the respiratory rate. Here is one example. If you have set the respiratory rate of 20, here if you have set the respiratory rate of 20, what should be the respiratory time? When you want, when an I ratio, given I ratio is 1:2. So that you have to calculate. So time is limited, isn't it? So 1 minute is 60 seconds and the respiratory rate is 20 per 60 second, correct? 20 per 60 seconds. So what will be the absolute respiratory time? So whole respiratory time will be about 3 seconds. That is the time spent in whole breath, complete breath time. You can say complete complete breath time. Now 3 seconds have to be divided into 1:2. So how will you do that? So 1:2, you just combine this 1:2, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. So what will you do? 3 by 3. So that will give you the 1. Okay. So 1 will be your what? TI. TI will be 1 second. So automatically the T will be 2 seconds. Now another example. Now you want to calculate the inspiratory time for I ratio 1:2.5. So here nothing you have to do. 1 plus 2.5 is equal to how much? 3.5. Now what was your complete breath time? 3 seconds, correct? 3 seconds, which we have calculated. So 3 upon 3.5 will be your TI. In the second example, it will be 0.86 second, and the rest will be T. So T will be the total breath time is 3 seconds. 3 minus 0.86. So that will be approximately 2.14 second. So this is how you calculate. It's very simple. Upon I plus P, that will give you TI. So that is the formula. Okay, that will be in seconds. If it is in seconds. So this is the formula. Let's talk about inspirated rise time, which is a setting on ventilator, which is also known as ramp in some or other brands, and is defined as the time during which the ventilator achieves a target pressure in pressure control or pressure support mode, or it is set in the percent of the breath cycle from 0% to 20% of the breath cycle time, or in seconds 0 to 0.4 seconds. So this is the time during which the maximum pressure is achieved. Okay, so that is called inspiratory rise time. And the default settings are usually kept 5% or 0.15 second. Okay, so on BiPAP or non-invasive ventilation, definition of rise time is slightly different. It is a function of how quickly the BiPAP machine will go from EPAP pressure to the IPAP during inspiration. Most BiPAP devices allow for the adjustment of the rise time, that is the angle of pressure change from 100 millisecond to 600 millisecond, or sometimes level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So setting the rise time can change the shape of the pressure waveform. A faster rise time setting 1 can result in a square waveform, whereas a slower rise time setting 5 will be more of the sinusoidal pattern. If you keep the inspiratory rise time longer or close to 20% or so, the airway resistance would be minimal and lower peak pressures will be achieved in volume control mode. Some says that slower ascent or longer P rise is associated with improved sputum clearance. However, in test lung model, they proved that IRT shouldn't be kept beyond 5% of the breath cycle to achieve the sputum clearance. A restrictive or neuromuscular patient may need a longer rise time to allow for the adequate gas exchange. A rapid rise time value will allow faster delivery of flow at the start of the breath. People are happier if they keep the P rise shorter to improve the inspiratory flow rate. So shorter is the P rise, higher will be the inspiratory flow rate, and the better will be the recruitment of alveoli, and the better will be the oxygenation. Improving the inspiratory flow rate improves the comfort of breathing and reduces the work of breathing. And that is the biggest advantage of keeping the shortest possible P rise. In COPD patients, you should keep the rise time faster so that there will be more time remained for the exhalation. So in COPD or asthma, keep the rise time around 150 milliseconds. Start with the shortest P rise and gradually increase in increment, asking the patient whether she or he is comfortable on BiPAP. If a patient is not tolerating BiPAP, think about adjusting the rise time. So that's all. Read well, apply knowledge to practice with good attitude, be patient friendly. Thank you so much. The links to all the useful references will be in the description. Thank you so much.